Is that on?
Yeah.
Okay, it's good. Hi, I'm Marc.
I'm Sam.
We are the developers, the designers behind Zoo Tycoon, the board game. And we want to answer some questions that we collected from interested people. And I want to go a little bit more in detail, what we can't in the Kickstarter video, because it has to be like a certain length, not too long. So this video is a little bit more for the people that really are interested to know more, like
why did we do Zoo Tycoon, the board game? What's the background of it?
Exactly.
Why did we do some certain decisions? So all these kind of background information.
Absolutely. So let's start with the questions that I collected here. So who is your ideal audience for this game? Also about the difficulty level, and who did you develop it for?
I think that's definitely one of the easier one. I think for people that love Zoo Tycoon.
Board games. I mean, it's not a family game. I mean, if you have kids that know a lot of games and are already experienced, they will definitely also be able to play this. But I think in general, it's definitely a connoisseur or expert game. So for people who are really in love with board games. But I think also for people that, like you said, love Zoo Tycoon, that have like a connection with this beloved series, and also for all people that love animals. I think if you like animals, then this is a very interesting game for you.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely the group, our target group, I think, for this game that we developed. Then the next question, what is the best part in Zoo Tycoon, and why should I definitely try it out? What makes the game special?
I think the game, compared to many others, is very thematic. I think
absolutely.
All our approach is always to develop games that feel like a real simulation, so to say. That has always been also the case with the other games. And
and I think it what really shines for me is I think the zoo market mechanic is very interesting. I think with the market sheet, and that you all the time have like a different demand and supply, I think that's really interesting, and also like a bit of a computer thing that we brought into this game, because we don't have like a random numbers simulator. So we simulated it a bit like this. So I think that's a very interesting mechanic. And also at Spiel Essen, the convention, people were very interested in this part. And then I think, the zoo building in general, I think to always see your zoo develop with this very big variety of meeples, like all the colors and
the animals are it's like the core of the game.
Absolutely.
They play very differently from each other. And I think that you kind of take time to look what are their needs and to kind of get to know them. I think that makes the game also
absolutely. I think here the animals in this game, compared to maybe others, the animals really feel like animals, they behave like animals, and you really have to care for these animals. They are not just like cards or just a random component with stats.
I think also in the beginning, when we were designing the game, I also came up with the idea to kind of include, I think it was over 70 animals or so, and that was just way over the top. But now I have to say, I think we have these 22 main animal species inside the game, and it's better to have like 22 which play and feel very different than having, 200 and they're all a bit the same.
Absolutely. So I think... so these are really the spots that make it special. I think the market mechanic, like the puzzle that you solve in front of you, like the look of with the different meeple, and especially the animals. So if you love animals and want to really have the feeling of managing a zoo, I think this game does a really good job with it.
True.
So I think here I'm very proud on that one. Then a question that, of course, I think that's the most asked question that we get. I will summarize it a bit. Is there are other games like New York Zoo, but especially Ark Nova. So what is the difference to our game? And what makes it special? What makes it worth for people buy this game when they already have Ark Nova or New York Zoo.
Well, yeah, the thing is that we never played Ark Nova yet. We didn't really have the time yet.
Also not New York Zoo. I think we didn't play any zoo-themed board game before.
Yes, that's true.
Also Zoo Loreto and Bärenpark, or how it is called in English, we didn't play a single one of them.
The feedback that we can get is also a bit limited, but of course with all the people that we played tested it, we get a lot of feedback and comparison. And all of them say that it's a completely different game and also approach that it follows. Yeah. I think that in our game, the core mechanic is really around the happiness of the animal. Yeah. And in other games, it's more of a kind of set collection and maybe giving some additional bonus when you have certain animals together. And that's not really the case in our game. I mean, there are some mechanics also involved to get like national park cooperation, where it's also good that you have a certain set of animals, but you really need to care about their needs, otherwise you're going to be a bit stopped during the game, because it influences many different things in the game.
Yeah, I think just how we implemented the animal and how thematic they are, I think that's a very big difference to the others what I have seen. It's not it's a real simulation. I think that's the one. Sure. And I think, like we said, we never played this game, so it's hard for us to tell in detail, but I think if you have a look at the reviews and the review parts, all of the reviewer at least spend like a minute or two to explain how different it is. So I think with great confidence we can say it's a totally different game, and it's less about that you should compare it to maybe Ark Nova or another one, because from a team and from how it works completely different. But it's more that you should just decide, is this a game that you like or is this a game that you don't like, and it doesn't matter if you have the other twos already in your collection, because this is a completely different third game, right? It's maybe more better to compare it with other games that you have. Just compare it with other games that you like, and if it's if it's a fit for it. Then also an important question: is there a chance to have a solo play with the campaign, or is there like a solo mode planned for this, or what is this?
Also there, me and Marc are both not really solo players. So in the beginning of the development process, for us it was kind of clear that we're going to focus on games that we can also that we kind of really enjoy
and that we have experience
and
with,
we also have experience with, absolutely. But at that point where we are right now, we know that a solo mode would be possible. Because we also made the 2-player mode possible, and that works really good as well. So we know that a solo mode would also work.
I think from the whole setup, or what this game brings to your table, definitely possible to play this game solo. So I'm 100% convinced. That the thing is just that we have absolutely no experience in this field. I personally never played a game solo. I don't know if you once did. Did you once play a game solo?
No, digital
digital game, of course, but not so. For us it's always important when we do something that we have very high quality standards that we want to fulfill and that we want to meet. And if we are not, I mean, here in this field, it's just to develop a solo mode without ever having played a game solo yourself. I mean, that's not possible. That would be that's not possible. So what we definitely are doing at the moment, we are in contact with solo mode creators. And also, if you are someone that plays a lot of solo games and has like an idea how to play this, then you can just contact us, because the best idea on how you can play this game solo will definitely make it in the rulebook with your name, integrated it in the rulebook and everything. So I think it's just
something we would like to include.
Absolutely. But that we don't feel comfortable developing it ourselves, because we are not the player that plays solo, and therefore don't have the experience to also to tell what is a good and what is a bad solo mode. Good question. How did you get so now it's a little bit more about the development and everything. So how did you get Microsoft to give you the license? That's a good question.
I think you were the person that contacted them first, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was also a while ago, I think.
Yeah, I think last summer, so it's more than a year ago. I think 1.25 of a year. And I think also we already had it in mind that Zoo Tycoon would be a good fit match for the game.
And always when we were also developing it, we had, of course, because we played the game so often when we were kids, we had a lot of inspiration from this franchise.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a zoo simulation, and we wanted to make a zoo simulation.
So it made sense for us
that we want to contact them. And the thing is then, I mean, I can't go too much into detail because there are also NDAs and whatever, but I mean, in general, I was a bit lucky because I found somewhere in the internet a good email address to contact Microsoft. Not like a standard one, I found a good one. And then, the person was friendly and forwarded me to the right guy who is also interested in board game. And I think it was luck also, to be honest. I think we were quite lucky. Of course, we also did a good job, and we had to convince them, we had to place them, we had to give them a business plan and everything, and like a portfolio and what is our thing. And of course, it's also our 6th Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, that definitely helped.
We already worked with big partners before. Sustainability is very important for us. This is also. And I think it was just like it was the right person to contact in the right time about the right brand. Yeah, it was just a good match, I have to say. Yeah, and you're definitely lucky if you meet in such a big company someone that really cares also then for the project and that really carries through this whole process. So
we're super happy how it went and thankful.
Absolutely. As well. Yeah. And so what was this? Okay. So this was a person that met us in Essen, and we told this person that we worked like for more than 3 years on this game, and this is absolutely true. And tell us a little bit more about the process and why you have chosen this game as your next project. Yeah.
I think we can start very early on with this question because Marc made like his bachelor thesis and master thesis also about Zoo. We can even go further back because he made months in his high school. He made like also a project where he designed a Zoo game. I still remember
a completely different one.
Yeah,
it didn't work at all.
but it was still a fun evening.
Yeah, and I got a good grade because the teacher couldn't play it. It was too complicated.
Yeah, true. So I think the idea of having a Zoo board game was there very early on. And I think, when we made like the first board game, we already had in mind that at one point we would like to do one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the idea was there from a very early stage.
So even when we did like Darwin's Choice, or like in the very beginning, when we made like a list what games would be interesting for us, is the Zoo game was already on this list, and I think we also as a company or like business partners or co-designers or whatever, when we also are very strategic, of course, when we select our games. So we want to have something that is unique, we want something that we also have knowledge about, that is interesting for us to develop, something that is not like that there are like already 10,000 games about. It needs to match our values, our company, like that is sustainability and animals and nature is very important for us. And then I think we just like 3 years ago then decided let's now start with this. I think that's a good idea. That's something that we really want to get to life. And
I agree.
I wanted to say something, but I forgot. It was just, I think, we worked on it. What I wanted to tell exactly is we even had like already after a year or one and a half, we already had a game.
That's maybe also why it took like
3 years. Normally we are faster.
But I mean, the game is definitely a really big project to also balance it,
absolutely.
to make everything perfect. It took us also quite a while. It's always like the last 5% that are like the hardest and that need a lot of time. We had one game,
and I think it wasn't even a bad game. I think people would have enjoyed it a lot. But I also have to say I didn't enjoy it because for me it was more like a tile placement game, quite abstract. It was more like set collection, tile placement, and then we really went back to field number one and started again and just...
it was really important to do that game that we did before to kind of see what we don't want in the game and to see what we want.
Exactly.
And we really wrote down then like the mistakes that we made or so. And the biggest change, I mean, it's a completely different game, but the biggest change that we really wanted to implement are like two things. One is the replayability. We wanted to make it every time you play it different. Exactly. And the second thing is that the animals, as Marc said, is not something that you just collect and you don't have any special relationship with it. And that we changed a lot by having the special needs that all the 22 main species have, and you really need to get to know the animals.
Absolutely.
So they're really those two things are like the big differences.
And so the next question: what are you thinking about when creating a new game like that? Complicated.
The approach is that we always...
I think we brainstorm a lot. I think in the beginning we just write everything down that we see in reality about a topic, everything. So then we have whiteboards and everything is full just about the topic. We don't even think that much already about the game, but just write everything down that could be interesting, that is interesting about zoos, that is interesting, what is with the animals, they need enclosures, they need this, they need...
I think that's also why the end product is so thematical, because we always try to understand how do things work kind of in real life and see the connections and then kind of transfer it then in the next step. How could we do something interesting out of it in a game or so? But it's true. First, we have a ton of things that we write down and then we kind of try to connect certain things with each other.
And then maybe we have first like parts that we think, this could work like this. I mean, in the beginning we had the idea to make like a puzzle out of the enclosure style that you could puzzle together. This is not possible from like a production point.
I think in the beginning we are always trying to be very creative.
Very creative.
Then certain things you kind of get a feel it's maybe just too much. And what should be the core and focus on that.
Absolutely.
But in the beginning we have a lot of different terms, and some stuff we might try it, and some stuff we already know early on that will be problematic with production, or also it's just one layer too much.
Playtesting is then very important. You just see what feels right, what doesn't feel right, what plays right, what is too slow, what is too fast. The pace, everything.
I think what's also interesting with our games is that in the beginning everything is very theoretical, and as we said, we write a lot of down on the whiteboard, and then we try to connect things. And in the second step, we kind of try to do a very easy prototype. But the funny thing is always that with these things, you can already play. Because I think the connection that we do are quite smart.
Are already good. So our first prototype is already quite playable.
There's too much money most of the time. Stuff
too much money, too much
but the
everything.
Connections already...
are already good. So I think there is still stuff inside from the very beginning. But I think you then make like one big loop where every part gets changed, and in the end you have something left, and then this needs to be changed, and then when you have this one loop several times maybe, or one big loop, then you're done.
Yes, true. No, that was definitely an interesting development that we had with Zoo Tycoon. I think every mechanic we had in the game were reworked
several times. Changed a lot. With the workers, with the donors a lot. I mean, we had hidden bidding and stuff that just didn't feel right at all. And then you sometimes something doesn't work. Then something is like a forward loop that you have to break. Then something just doesn't work at all, or it's also a lot about the feeling. If it doesn't feel right, like in a zoo topic, then you just have to get rid of it. Or if you change something here, then maybe this is connected with this, and then you have also to change the workers or this.
We had that a lot, because the game is very connected.
Very, very connected. I mean, it's
the rules
loops in loops.
The rules may be sound in the beginning, or if you would have like a first view on the rulebook, it's like a lot, but once you've played it, I think many things make sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also the way they're connected.
Absolutely.
I think when you play it, you will realize that.
It's very thematic, because that's
difficult.
also what maybe is complicated when we develop a game. We just can't come up with a random thing. We want to stay in the topic.
Yeah.
So we always have to think how, okay, this that didn't work, but this is how it works in real life. Why doesn't it work here in the game? And then we have to somehow think, but how does it also work, or where is there a downside? And we are just also that we work that thematic also gives us problems sometimes in the development process. How did you decide which game mechanics to use in this game? Yeah, like we said, I think we completely already answered it. We come from a topic perspective, and then you just go with what matches the feeling, what matches the game, what doesn't break the game. All this.
Having a lot of creative ideas first, and
how did you transfer the game physics from the digital to the analog game? Any difference between the two? I think the main difference with Zoo Tycoon is that in Zoo Tycoon you didn't have like a real goal. I think you just built it. It was very creative. Yeah. Of course, you had these little scenarios, right? This you don't have here somehow. So we had to build like a goal,
and also a time frame, right? You have to be finished in a certain.
Yeah, it's not a sandbox that you can do forever.
Zoo Tycoon has no limits.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you play it alone in that sense as well.
Absolutely.
And here you still have also like other players, of course, that are on the table.
And besides that, I think the biggest change is that we also brought conservation into play. I think conservation doesn't play a role at all in Zoo Tycoon. Maybe there are some buildings that have to do a little bit with conservation, but it's more like a visitor attraction or something like that. And I think that, but for us, conservation is really important. And I also saw it in Planet Zoo there, in the newer game that isn't connected to Zoo Tycoon at all. There, conservation plays a role. And so we just wanted to give like Zoo Tycoon also this feeling that conservation also matters. I mean, Zoo Tycoon is also, it had 2000 games, so the world since then changed a lot. So you also have to see when they did it, conservation or this, climate change, everything was small. It was a different time. So definitely conservation, that I think that are the biggest changes. But I think besides that, I think it's very close, because Zoo Tycoon is also like a easy material to work with, because it's a simulation, right? And we also did want to make a simulation, and then it's automatically you're close enough.
Absolutely, I think the vision for us was to create like a zoo simulation. And that's something that we're able to do. Yeah. And that definitely feels similar to playing Zoo Tycoon on the PC.
And then, one good question that you mentioned before we started that video. So what was not possible to implement in the game? I think there was not much, but some things definitely didn't make it. I think... what did you mention? You mentioned...
one thing that we thought would have been really interesting to include, but was just something that was too much.
The age.
Is like age like the health.
Yeah.
We have this happiness of the animal population.
But health,
like health, age.
Age, because it would also be like very time consuming to always shift up the animals. Yes. And we only play 8 years. Many animals in the game get much older. They don't die in this time frame. And to track all the ages of all the individual animals, that's a complete pain. Yes. Also death would be an interesting topic, definitely, of animals. True. But there it's again like the time frame that we are in, like these 8 years, is just not. It could happen, but it wouldn't improve the gameplay also. Then you just would replace the animal, and sometimes it doesn't sound harsh now, but sometimes when you have a lot of animal, it would even like benefit the ones that have a lot of animals if some of them would die. That's definitely something that we didn't want. So age and health of the animals, animal happiness we definitely have inside, but the health, how can you simulate like the health? And then
and I think one of the difference, of course, that's also something I mentioned in the beginning. The amount of animals, of course, is not as many as in the PC game, of course, but that makes also sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the game you had like 100 species in the end, or I don't know with the expansions and everything, and that's just not possible. I mean, here it's already difficult to, I think, when players start to really get to know these 22 species. It's quite complicated, and because it's a different mechanic, it just works differently than in other games. You really have to get used to it, and definitely the number of animals, and of course some small things. Also, we only have like 3 biomes here: boreal or mountain forest, how we call it. Then we have savanna and rainforest, and of course in the real game it was when you built that enclosure, then you also had to think how many tiles of sand will I place there, how many vegetation is much more detailed, but what would this bring to the game? Nothing. So you just have to like make certain things easier, right? And just because in the digital game it's just different. But I think in general most of it is in the game. I mean, we really talk about details that we didn't find a solution how, and that we still have in our heads, of course, but that just wouldn't improve the game in any way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's all the questions. I think that's it. Please have a look at the whole campaign.
I hope we were able to give you a bit of an impression about the background and
also a bit about the people behind, of course. And this is really a passion project. So really have a look at it. We are also very hyped about this project. I mean, it was such a cool thing to have this prototype in our hands the first time, and so if you love board games or animals, Zoo Tycoon, all this stuff, then this is your game. I mean, really, this I think you will have a lot of fun with it, and I can say this in all honesty. I'm quite sure about that. Yeah,
I agree.
So have fun with the campaign, and thanks a lot. Bye.